Number 10. 33-foot Anaconda. There is no shortage of giant snakes on this planet. Just in 2016, workers at a construction site stumbled upon an enormous 33-foot anaconda in the middle of the jungle. The giant snake was first discovered after the workers carried out a controlled explosion inside a cave, and after finding the ridiculously huge beast, the workers chained it to a crane. This doesn't seem very nice, and the workers immediately faced criticism after uploading the photos online. It's unclear if the snake was as big as they said it is, but there is nothing to suggest the photos are fake. What the online community was angry about was that the workers appeared to have killed the snake just to get some photos rather than letting it go. But it's unclear exactly what happened. It could have died from the explosion, or maybe they let it go, or maybe it died from all the stress. Nobody is really sure. If the snake truly was 33 feet long, it had probably been alive for a very long time until this incident. Also, if the snake really was 33 feet long, that makes it 8 feet longer than the current longest snake in the Guinness Book of World Records. Number 9. Medusa. It's time to take a look at the longest snake currently held in captivity. The snake goes by the name Medusa, and she is a reticulated python living in Kansas City, Missouri. She's owned by Full Moon Productions Inc., so you know the snake is getting a whole lot of daily attention. She was first measured on October 12, 2011, and was found to be 25 feet and 2 inches long. Looking at this Medusa won't turn you to stone like in the legend, but you probably wouldn't want to be left alone with the enormous python for too long. They are called reticulated pythons because of the grid pattern on their skin. And yes, they are on average the longest snakes in the world. Most adults will grow to be around 20 feet long, but Medusa has them trumped by more than 5 feet. She's 10 years old, and according to the Guinness Book of World Records, it took 15 men to hold her at full length just to get a proper measurement. That is a ridiculously long snake. An official present during the capture of the snake told The Guardian that the workers from the site called emergency services, and the authorities came to trap and safely remove the snake from the site. They claimed the snake weighed at least 550 pounds, but that could be an exaggeration. Medusa has a pretty solid diet of rabbits, hogs, and even deer. She has been known to consume an entire 40-pound deer in a single sitting. That's not surprising considering Medusa weighs 350 pounds. And if you're wondering what she's doing in Kansas City, she definitely wasn't born there. Reticulated pythons come from Southeast Asia, primarily in Indonesia and the Philippines. Medusa is currently performing at the Edge of Hell Haunted House in Kansas City with her handler from Full Moon Productions, so next time you're there, don't forget to see a show and meet Medusa. Number 8. Giant python in Malaysia. Let's move across the world to Malaysia, where local authorities claim they found a snake estimated to be approximately 26 feet and 3 inches in length. This happened back in 2016, 5 years after Medusa was written into the Guinness Book of World Records. The giant python was discovered at a construction site, and it could take the record for being the longest snake ever captured on Earth. However, it still can't claim the title of longest snake in captivity, since it was found in the wild by a bunch of construction workers. Not really in captivity at all. An official present during the capture of the snake told The Guardian that the workers from the site called emergency services, and the authorities came to trap and safely remove the snake from the site. Unfortunately, several days after the python was captured, it died giving birth. The serpent squished an egg out and then immediately perished. It's not certain what exactly caused her death, but at least she laid an egg before she died. Maybe that egg will grow to be the next record holder as the biggest snake ever in captivity. Number 7. Burmese Python. Another type of python is the Burmese Python, and they are known to be extremely large. A man named Marcus from England is now claiming that his pet Burmese Python has grown to be the biggest one in the world. He allegedly bought the snake from a pet shop when it was only 8 inches long, but now the Burmese Python has grown into an 18-foot monster. According to Marcus himself, he knew she was going to grow to be big, but he was absolutely shocked by how much she really did grow. And she's still growing. The lethal reptile feasts on rabbits, goats, baby cows, pigs, and even stillborn deer. She even has a poop once a month big enough to fill a large trash bag. That's the kind of animal care I have no interest in doing. But the craziest part about this story is that Marcus is a dad, and he allows his giant Burmese python to live in the house with his small children. He lives in a 3-bedroom home with his partner, his 2 young sons, a smaller snake, and a family dog. And as of now, the snake has not yet tried to eat any of them. In fact, Marcus claims the giant snake, which is named Hexie, has never attacked him even once, except for one time when he had to apply iodine to a skin infection and it got a little aggressive. And that makes sense. If somebody poured rubbed iodine on my skin infection, I would probably get aggressive too. While experts claim the biggest Burmese python in the world was 18 feet and 8 inches long, Marcus is claiming his snake is even longer, bordering close to 19 feet. This was back in 2019, so let's see if he can get the title for the biggest Burmese python in the world coming up in the next little while. Number 6. The Bushmaster. Let's take a look at some snakes that aren't pythons. The Bushmaster is one of the largest venomous pit viper species in the world. They typically live in Central America and in some places in South America. They even live in Trinidad. And if you know anything about snakes, you know the Bushmaster has a brutal reputation. It's known to attack aggressively and without mercy. But we're here to talk about how big the snake is. And while definitely not as huge as a reticulated python, the Bushmaster is still a bit too big to crawl into one of your sneakers in the night. Typical Bushmaster can grow to be between 6.5 feet and 12 feet in length. This gives them the title of the longest venomous snake in all of the Americas. And yes, this includes being larger than the eastern diamondback rattlesnake. The only venomous snake in the world bigger than the Bushmaster is the king cobra, which is the longest venomous snake on the planet. The Bushmaster gets its name because of the unique heat-sensing pits on either side of its head, right between its eyes and its nostrils. These organs basically give it infrared vision just like the predator. The snake can easily detect any body heat moving through the jungle, which kind of makes it a Bushmaster. Get it? Number 5. The Eastern Indigo. The Eastern Indigo snake is one of the ugliest snakes you have ever seen. It's completely black, with almost glossy skin and the meanest look on its face. It's not even realistic how mean this snake really looks, and its attitude matches its ugly stare. They don't typically attack humans, which is okay considering they are not really dangerous or venomous, but they are aggressive with others in their own species, often fighting competitively with other males for breeding rights. How big is the Eastern Indigo? This is the longest snake in all of North America. That means Mexico, Canada, and the United States. It can reach a maximum size of almost 9 feet, with a pretty hefty weight of 11 pounds. However, most indigo snakes are only around 5 or 6 feet in length. The 9-footers are really at the high point of the scale. You can find an eastern indigo snake if you live in Florida or southern Georgia. They mostly eat snakes, turtles, frogs, birds, and basically any other little creature they can get their fangs on. They will even feast on venomous snakes if they get the opportunity. The indigo isn't a constrictor and it's not venomous, so it actually has to overpower its prey using its muscular jaws and larger size. Then it consumes its prey head first. This means they take venomous snakes and stuff them into their mouth, such as the eastern diamondback rattlesnake. And yes, the indigo is immune to the rattlesnake venom. Number 4. Eastern diamondback. You don't want to mess with the eastern diamondback rattlesnake. These monsters are found mostly in Florida and southern Georgia, and they can be upwards of 6 feet in length, with the largest ever documented clocking in at 8 feet long. However, there has been an image circling the web that shows a giant snake claimed to be a 15-foot eastern diamondback. Unfortunately, that's completely bogus. The photograph does display a rattlesnake captured in Florida back in 2009, but the size has been greatly exaggerated. Considering the largest on record is 8 feet in length, a diamondback stretching 15 feet is nonsensical. It's all about forced perspective, with the camera angle making the snake look much larger. It's true that the eastern diamondback is the largest rattlesnake in the Americas, and also one of the heaviest venomous snakes in the world. But it's definitely not 15 feet long. Most of these snakes make their homes in gopher burrows and tortoise burrows, but some have been known to slither up into trees and bushes in search of prey. And let me tell you, the last thing you want is an eastern diamondback falling out of the tree and onto your head. It has the longest fangs of any rattlesnake species and has extremely potent venom. The pain from getting bit by an eastern diamondback rattlesnake has been described as 2 hot hypodermic needles sticking into your skin. After you get bit by one of these snakes, you immediately start to bleed. You get intense internal pain, you can bleed from your mouth, and then whatever limb was bitten will swell and become discolored. But when all is said and done, you probably won't die from a single bite. Number 3. The Green Anaconda. There was no way this list could end without talking about the Green Anaconda. It's one of the biggest snakes in the entire world, with an average length of 20 feet and a top length of around 30 feet. They are also extremely heavy, weighing upwards of 550 pounds. But where the anaconda really shines is with its girth, as they can be around 12 inches thick. They only live in South America, in swamps and marshes. And because they are so large, they have an easier time swimming in the water, up streams and through rivers, than they do slithering around on dry land. This is why anyone visiting the Amazon should always be careful when standing near a river, as an anaconda can come slithering out of nowhere and swallow you whole. Anacondas spend almost all of their time in the water hunting, and they do this using sight, smell, and heat detection. Basically, an anaconda can smell you, see you, and sense the heat coming off of your body. They typically eat birds, fish, wild pigs, and even caimans. There have also been reports of anacondas chowing down on jaguars. Even though these snakes aren't venomous, it doesn't really matter. They are so big that once one gets hold of you with its teeth, the anaconda can easily coil around your body and squeeze you until it crushes your bones to dust. At that point, it will simply slip your entire body into its mouth like you were nothing but a chicken nugget. Number 2. Reticulated Python. We have already talked quite a bit about the reticulated python, including the current record holder, Medusa. Medusa is definitely the longest in captivity, measuring 25 feet, and that makes the story about the 49-foot python in Indonesia so much harder to swallow. This story was first reported in 2004 by NBC News, and it reports that Indonesian villagers found a python almost 50 feet long and almost 1,000 pounds in weight. If confirmed, it would be the largest snake ever. I'm talking ever. The report goes on to say that hundreds of people were flocking to see the snake, where it was set up in a primitive zoo on the island of Java. The local government official of the area gave the python a measurement of 48 feet and 8 inches, but the story itself is a little shaky. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the longest ever captured snake was only 32 feet. In the end, a reporter from The Guardian went to check out the legendary snake and found all the news reports had been grossly exaggerated. The reporter found that the snake was only somewhere between 21 and 23 feet in length, and from here on the story was squashed. Number 1. Titanoboa. The final snake on the list is definitely the biggest. However, this giant snake lived somewhere around 58 million years ago, after the great extinction that killed the dinosaurs. I'm talking about the Titanoboa. It was first uncovered at a fossil site in northern Colombia, where paleontologists also unearthed many exciting fossils, including giant crocodile-like predators and giant turtles. The Titanoboa was enormous. Scientists estimate that this predator reached somewhere around 47 feet in length. That makes it the longest snake known to science, either living or extinct. If you thought the Green Anaconda was big, it doesn't even hold a candle to this giant monster. Where the anaconda can get by eating fish and birds, the Titanoboa would have gotten by from eating fully sized crocodilians. It's probably spent its time in waters, just like the anaconda, swimming and eating everything in sight. You should remember that this was a time on the Earth when everything was way bigger. Komodo dragons were 18 feet long, there were geckos in New Zealand the size of small dogs, and the Titanoboa was swallowing crocodiles. Number 10. Barreleye Fish. The barreleye fish is one of the weirdest animals living in the depths of our ocean. It looks like a submarine with a transparent cabin. You can actually see what looks to be the animal's brains through its clear skull. It doesn't look like anything that belongs swimming around on our planet. But this elusive creature is actually very advanced. It has a pair of tubular eyes embedded inside of its transparent head, which it uses as hunting tools for illuminating the deep abyss in which it lurks. This fish was first described in 1939 by a pretty confused scientist. But since then, the scientific community has managed to piece together a lot about these weird fish. Biologists consider them one of the most peculiar fish that lives in the depths of the ocean. There are a few different species of the barreleye, and all of them have the same weird tubular eyes and transparent head. They live about 2,600 feet deep in the area around Australia and New Zealand. They primarily eat jellyfish and small crustaceans, and their transparent head is believed to be a unique evolutionary trait which has allowed the barreleye fish to thrive in the darkness of the deep ocean where no light reaches. Number 9. Zombie worms. The barreleye fish is definitely a freak, but the zombie worms are terrifying. Even the name sounds ominous. Zombie worms are properly known as Ossidax. It's their scientific name, and it's Latin for bone devourer, and that is exactly what zombie worms do. They don't have a craving for brains, they have a craving for bones. Specifically, they feed on whale bones. Whenever a whale dies and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, zombie worms come to feast on its skeleton. But the zombie worms are weird. They don't have mouths and they don't have stomachs, so you might be wondering how exactly they do all their feasting. Zombie worms actually feed using a root system, kind of like a plant. The worms flock to the whale skeleton. Then they basically drill into the bones with specialized roots that then digest the nutritious fats and oils trapped inside. And to be quite honest, it doesn't get much more zombie than that. But don't fret, you definitely don't have to worry about zombie worms eating your skeleton, since they live extremely deep in the ocean, about 13,000 feet below the surface. Where else are they going to collect whale bones? Number 8. Dumbo Octopus. The Dumbo Octopus is very cool. It is the deepest dwelling octopus that scientists know of. This animal lives around the same region as the zombie worms, about 13,000 feet below the surface. But scientists believe they could actually live much deeper. According to Oceana, life at such extreme depths requires an extraordinary ability to not only live in cold water, but to thrive without any sunlight. This makes Dumbo octopuses naturally rare. Or maybe the deep sea is just too large and we can't find many of them. And if you were wondering, the answer is yes. Dumbo octopuses actually got their name from the Disney character. This is because they have very large fins at the top of their heads that look like ears, and they use these to move slowly through the ocean while they forage for food. Unlike normal octopuses, the Dumbo octopus does not have an ink sac. This is because there are very few predators in the deep sea that they need to escape from. The Dumbo octopus mostly has to worry about large diving animals that swim down from closer to the surface to try and scoop up some food. The largest one of these creatures ever recorded only weighed 13 pounds, but it was 5 feet and 10 inches tall. That's quite the height to weight ratio. Number 7. Cuvier's Beaked Whale. In 2020, the Cuvier's Beaked Whale set the record for the longest dive ever done by a marine animal. The previous champion spent a full 2 hours underwater in 2014, but the Cuvier's Beaked Whale managed to hold its breath for a dive that lasted nearly 4 hours. These fascinating whales now hold the record for the deepest dive ever from a marine mammal, swimming almost 10,000 feet deep in one go, but now they also have the record for holding their breath for the longest. In order for the whale to complete such an amazing feat, you have to look a little at how it uses oxygen. These giant mammals are able to store huge amounts of oxygen inside their bodies while they dive underwater. They also have a very slow metabolism. That means that once their oxygen runs out, the whales are able to tolerate acid building up in their muscles from something called anaerobic respiration. It's a method of generating energy that does not rely on oxygen. What's really fascinating is that after the record-breaking dive, researchers found that the whale did not need to spend any extra time at the surface recovering. It could just take another breath and go back down without any issues. Number 6. Deep Sea Hatchetfish. Let's move on from giant whales to something small and terrifying. I'm talking about the deep sea hatchetfish. This is a strange and kind of ugly creature that lurks in the dark ocean depths. Not only is this fish haunting to look at, but if you look straight into one of its huge eyes, it appears to be in its own kind of misery. It has a gasping mouth and vacant eyes, with the most vapid expression you've ever seen on a fish. But it's actually doing a pretty fantastic job of surviving in one of the most inhospitable environments on the planet. According to Australian Geographic, there are about 40 known species of hatchetfish, and each one of them has ingenious strategies for avoiding the jaws of a predator. Hatchetfish have special light-emitting organs known as photophores that help to conceal their shadows. This is because it's easier for larger fish to find prey in the deep darkness of the ocean by seeing shadows. The little organs are located on the belly of the hatchetfish, and they work to cast a glow from the underside of the fish that matches perfectly to whatever colour and intensity of the light around them. In essence, their light organs make them invisible, allowing them to move from the deeper parts of the ocean so they can find food without becoming food themselves. Number 5. Giant squid. The giant squid is definitely the most infamous animal living in the depths of our oceans. There have not been many of them spotted by scientists, but in June of 2020, a fully intact giant squid finally washed ashore in South Africa. These carnivorous beasts of the deep have one of the largest eyes in the animal kingdom. According to Live Science, this particular giant squid was found while a couple were on a morning beach walk. Talk about romantic. It's unclear how exactly the squid died, but it has since been collected by the curator of the Iziko Museum of South Africa and is sitting in a freezer waiting to be properly studied. The squid was over 13 feet long and is estimated to weigh at least 660 pounds. Believe it or not, that's on the small side for a giant squid. That actually makes this squid more of an infant. An adult female giant squid can grow to be at least 60 feet long. It's believed giant squids live between 2,000 and 3,000 feet below the surface, and they often hang out in underwater canyons where there is plenty of food for them to eat. The giant squid has 8 arms and 2 super long tentacles that they use for grabbing onto prey. Number 4. The Anglerfish. The anglerfish is one of the terrors of the deep. Really, these fish are the stuff of nightmares. Anglerfish have super sharp teeth that stick out of their faces, which they use to impale their prey. They also have massive mouths. The lower jaw of the anglerfish can move downwards at more than a right angle, which allows them to eat prey much larger than themselves. And while they obviously look quite menacing, the way in which these creatures reproduce is actually their most unique attribute. This doesn't occur with all anglerfish, but there are certain subspecies that reproduce when the male fuses its body to the female. They basically absorb into each other and become one animal. The male fish loses his eyes, his teeth, his fins, and some of his internal organs. And from that point on, he lives off of the female. After they fuse together, the only job the male has is to provide sperm for the new baby fish. Imagine if the only way to have a baby with your girlfriend was to turn into Siamese twins. It's freaky. But hey, this is deep sea nature at its finest. Number 3. Sperm whale. Sperm whales are the largest of all the toothed whales. These things are absolutely huge. They are one of the deepest diving mammals in the world, and they can stay underwater for at least 2 hours before needing to come up for air. Your typical sperm whale grows to be around 67 feet long, and they can weigh at least 63 tons. What's really interesting about sperm whales is that the males and females differ dramatically in size. A male sperm whale is anywhere from 30% to 50% larger than its female counterpart. Also, the head of a whale can take up at least 2/3 of its total length. That gives it the largest brain of any creature on the planet. Sperm whales use echolocation to find their food, and they dive anywhere from 2,600 feet to 10,000 feet beneath the ocean's surface while hunting for giant squid. Sperm whales and giant squid are basically arch enemies. Over the last 3 centuries, it's been estimated that the global population of sperm whales went from 1.1 million to less than 360,000. Perhaps less surprising is that one of the only countries that still hunts and kills these magnificent creatures is Japan. Number 2. Pelican Eel. The pelican eel is one of the weirdest fish in the deep sea. Its name is also extremely misleading. The pelican eel is hardly a pelican or an eel. It does have a slender body, but it inflates its head just like a balloon. They live anywhere from around 2,000 to 10,000 feet below the surface and have very rarely been spotted by humans. And yes, it's extremely difficult to study the behaviour of an animal when you've barely even seen it. It wasn't until 2018 that researchers made their first direct observations of a pelican eel hunting for prey on video. And they had to do this with a submarine. Basically, the pelican eel inflates its head to create a bulbous pouch that it uses to catch prey. It's absolutely strange. Scientists believe that it's an adaptation to living in harsh deep sea environment. By inflating its head, the pelican eel increases its chance of catching even the smallest prey. Number 1. The Megamouth Shark. The final deep sea monster for today is the Megamouth Shark. And yes, it's just as intimidating as the name suggests. These massive and very rare sharks weigh up to almost 3,000 pounds. Still, they are the smallest of the filter-feeding sharks, much smaller than the whale shark and the basking shark, which are closely related cousins. The Megamouth Shark gets its name because of its monstrously huge mouth. It's pretty shocking when you see this filter feeder open its mouth like a portal to another dimension. The typical Megamouth Shark will be around 16 feet in length, and its mouth can open to be around 4 feet across. Just imagine that gaping mouth coming straight at you. It is terrifying. The Megamouth Shark is one of the rarest sharks ever. It's also one of the deepest animals on this list. According to Oceana, the Megamouth Shark lives as deep as 15,000 feet beneath the surface. That's actually deeper than the giant squid or the sperm whale. They probably only come near the surface in the evening, maybe to relax in the moonlight. Other than that, they live the entirety of their lives in total darkness. Megamouth sharks swim around with their giant mouths constantly open, swallowing up all kinds of plankton. These sharks pretty much eat for 24 hours a day, like a vacuum that never shuts off. From the deadly great white shark to the strongest bite force of any animal ever, and it's not the crocodile. Here are some of the strongest bites in the world. Number 10. Great White Shark. When most people think of the strongest bites on Earth, they automatically think about the great white shark. But guess what? The great white shark does not actually have the strongest bite force in the world. In fact, most people believe the great white shark doesn't even have as strong a bite force as the Tasmanian devil or a Nile crocodile. What's really interesting about this is that nobody has ever measured the bite force of a living shark. The only information we have is from computer models, which suggests the maximum bite force of a large great white shark would be around 360 pounds of force. That's only half of what a lion can do. In fact, great white sharks don't even have the strongest bite out of any shark. That award goes to the bull shark, which has the greatest force among sharks, pound for pound. A typical bull shark has a bite force of around 478 pounds, over 100 pounds more than the great white shark. Number 9. Mastiff. You may have wondered which dog has the strongest bite force, and I'm here today to answer the question. While no dog on earth can compete with a crocodile in terms of bite force, or even some other animals like hyenas and wolves, dogs can still put up quite a fight. Most dogs can bite pretty hard, but some breeds bite harder. You'll probably be surprised to find out that the Mastiff actually has the biggest bite force out of any other domesticated canine. They have a whopping bite force of around 552 pounds. To put that into perspective, most average dogs can only bite with around 150 or 180 pounds per square inch. Still, that doesn't make Mastiff dogs more dangerous than others. They are still extremely docile and loving animals, and they just so happen to have an extremely deadly bite. Second place goes to the Rottweiler, which can bite with 328 pounds of force. Another fun fact, a study in 2009 by the Coalition for Living Safely with Dogs showed that the Chihuahua is the most likely dog to bite a veterinarian. So, the Mastiff is huge and has a huge bite force, but is unlikely to bite you, and the Chihuahua is the wimpiest dog in the world and extremely likely to bite you. Number 8. Grey Wolf. While we're talking about dogs, we might as well upgrade to wolves. A wolf can bite with somewhere around 400 pounds of force. That's over double what a German Shepherd can do. But a lot of it actually depends on how strong the wolf is and what type of situation it's in. If the animal is trying to defend itself, it can bite extremely hard. Some people claim it can bite at upwards of 1,200 pounds when stressed. This is true for any animal, even the mighty crocodile. When pushed into a corner, animals can typically bite much harder than normal. With such a powerful bite force, wolves are able to chomp through a moose femur in a quick 2 or 3 bites. This helps them to bring down deer, elk and moose by quickly chomping down on the back legs while giving chase. And if the wolf makes it past the hind legs and gets to the neck, that's going to be their next bite. With their powerful jaws, a wolf will sever the windpipe or break the neck of its prey, and that's how they hunt in the wild. Number 7. Black Piranha. Out of any fish in the world, if you were to guess as to which one can bite the hardest, you would probably be right. The black piranha has one of the strongest bites not only in the water, but also in the entire world. When comparing size, a black piranha can actually bite 3 times harder than an American alligator. It doesn't produce a stronger bite force, but by comparative size it kind of does. There was even a study published in the journal Scientific Reports that suggests a piranha can outperform a Tyrannosaurus rex or a megalodon in terms of bite capability. This is because the black piranha exerts a bite force equivalent to 30 times its full body weight. This is a feat unmatched by any other animal in the natural world. The study came after scientists caught 15 black piranhas in the Amazon River and used a customized force gauge between their jaws to test their strength. Keep in mind that these fish are only a maximum of 15 inches in length. They are extremely small. The studies showed that the bite force of the black piranha was almost 72 pounds per square inch. They managed to bite so hard because their jaw muscles are extraordinarily large. Piranhas have a modified jaw closing lever that allows them to chomp down with unbelievable strength. The jaw muscles of the piranha make up for over 2% of its total body mass. Number 6. Jaguar. Out of all the cats on Earth, which one do you think has the most ferocious bite? According to Discover Wildlife, it is the jaguar. The jaguar has the toughest bite out of any large cat in relation to its size. Research from the University of South Carolina has revealed the bite forces of the 9 big cat species, and the jaguar's is the strongest. That doesn't mean it's the deadliest, but it's very similar to the piranha in that compared to its size, it absolutely is the strongest. Jaguars are significantly smaller than tigers, and you would definitely rather be bitten by a jaguar than a lion or a tiger. But because of the way a jaguar's jaw muscles are arranged, they can clamp down with extreme leverage to deliver a very painful bite. In fact, a jaguar can easily bite straight through the skull of just about any animal. They use this when hunting caimans in the wild. A jaguar delivers around 200 psi of bite force. While definitely less than a lion, it is still a force to be reckoned with. Number 5. Alligator snapping turtle. The alligator snapping turtle didn't get its name by accident. While a popular myth is that these little reptiles love attacking people, that actually isn't the case. But it is true that the alligator snapping turtle boasts an impressive bite force of 1,000 pounds, according to the National Wildlife Federation. With such a strong bite, one of these turtles can easily snap through bone. And even though they don't attack people very often, a single bite could definitely take off one of your fingers. So whatever you do, don't get your fingers anywhere near a snapping turtle's mouth. Aside from having super powerful bites, alligator snapping turtles are mostly solitary animals that spend most of their time hanging out in the water. A snapping turtle can even hold its breath for between 40 and 50 minutes. That's a whole lot better than any human. The only time they like to venture on land is to nest with a female, and to fit in with their solitary lifestyle, snapping turtles do absolutely nothing to care for their young. They lay the eggs and then let them fend for themselves. Number 4. Bengal Tiger. The Bengal Tiger is one of the most ferocious cats in the world. It is also one of the largest cats in the world, weighing upwards of 900 pounds. It should be no surprise that tigers have the strongest bites out of any other cat. Whereas a lion boasts a measly 650 pound bite, tigers have a bite force of around 1,000 pounds per square inch. That's almost double what a lion can dish out. But unlike lions and a lot like turtles, tigers are completely solitary. They live alone, they hunt alone, and they only get together during mating season. Lions hunt in a pride to take down animals, but because the tiger is so agile and has such a fierce bite force, it can take down prey much larger than itself completely alone. In fact, the Bengal tiger is the definition of an apex predator. In the wild, the Bengal tiger has no natural enemies. There is literally nothing other than humans that are willing to fight a tiger. Number 3. Humans. Believe it or not, humans have a pretty strong bite force. I mean, we can't do the kind of damage that a tiger or a gorilla can do, but we have evolved to have very strong jaws. Even though we are often considered wimps, scientists are now thinking that our bites are much stronger than previously imagined. Apparently, we can chomp down with as much force as a chimpanzee in relation to our size. Remember, bite force is all relative. What's really strange is that scientists have discovered that although we have smaller teeth and smaller jaws than our ancient ancestors, we still have powerful bites. Forget size for a minute and think about this. Australian scientists have recently discovered that our jaws are roughly 40% more effective than the jaws of a chimp, an orangutan, or a gorilla. This isn't about size, it's all about efficiency. According to a paleontologist and biomechanist from the University of New South Wales, humans are super efficient biters. We pack a pretty paltry 162 pounds of force with our jaws, but considering how small our heads are, that's actually not too bad. Number 2. Bullet ant. Before we move on to the king of the biters, let's talk about the bullet ant. This little ant is the owner of the most painful insect bite in the world. The bullet ant has gotten its name because of the horrible pain it delivers when it bites you. Unlike a normal bite that might hurt for a minute or two, then stop, the pain from one of these insects will last anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, and it is excruciating. Bullet ants live in the rainforests of South America and can grow to be roughly 1 inch long. That's about the size of your thumb. According to an entomologist who's actually been bitten by one, the pain feels like having a 3-inch nail stabbed into your flesh. This is coming from a man who has been stung by at least 150 different species of insects, either accidentally or on purpose. Apparently, the pain is so immediate that it shuts down all your senses and feels like you just stuck your finger into a 240-volt electrical socket. Number 1. The T-Rex. The animal with the strongest bite force ever is not actually alive today. Of course, I'm talking about the legendary T-Rex, gone extinct millions of years ago. The star of the movie Jurassic Park is not only one of the largest carnivores that ever walked the planet, but has also had a devastating bite. In fact, the force from a T-Rex bite is equal to the weight of about 3 small cars. It could easily crush bones and rip apart its prey. According to researchers, a computer model based on the anatomy of this dinosaur's jaw muscles combined with analysis of living relatives such as crocodilians and birds has estimated the total bite force of the T-Rex at being around 8,000 pounds. But just you wait, there's more. They also calculated how the bite force would be distributed. Research shows that at the tip of each of the T-Rex's 7-inch teeth, there would have been around 430,000 pounds per square inch of tooth pressure. So yeah, the Tyrannosaurus Rex could basically eat anything it wanted. Considering your average T-Rex weighed about 7 tons and stood 43 feet tall, that's not very surprising. Which of these animals would you prefer to be bitten by? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and come back soon for another fun video. If you haven't already, don't forget to click that subscribe button. What's the most painful encounter that you have ever had with an animal?